Happy Poetry Day. This is our fourth YouTube poetry session so far. I hope you're enjoying them. I hope you're doing well and finding some kind of, balance in all this strangeness. Maybe it's not seeming as strange now. And I hope you're getting outside at least a little bit, because I think that's a nice change of pace from being inside and looking at a screen. Today I want to talk about odes. An ode is a particular kind of poem. The word ode comes from the Greek. It originally meant song, and then an ode was a song of praise. And praise, sometimes people think it's praise, like when you're praying, but praise is when you say positive things about something. So odes are poems written about something that you like or you appreciate. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes it's ironic. I'm going to read you a poem later called Ode to a Parking Ticket. Most people don't like or appreciate parking tickets, but the poet, who was one of a fifth grader in Carol's class, found an angle to write the poem. So I think in this time we're kind of aware of things that are frustrating and irritating, and we have some complaints. And I thought this might be a good subject to think about. What do we appreciate? What do you enjoy? What do you like having around or doing? So I thought I'd read a few poems. And the first one is one that I read in class before, but a lot of people weren't in class that day. And it's a poem that rewards attention. So I thought I'd go back to it. And it's my favorite ode. So Ode to a Frog. And, in choosing to write a poem in praise of a frog, I think the poet is kind of making a joke, because sometimes odes are written about sort of lofty things, and this is a frog. But I also think the poet seriously likes and appreciates frogs. And I'll hold up the poem for a second. You can see that it's in 4 stanzas. The first 3 have 4 lines, and the last stanza is a little different. It has 6 lines, and it's indented. That indented part is when we hear the frog talk. Ode to a Frog. It's by a poet named William Pitt Root. Ode to a Frog. Your singing sounds like burping from the back row in a class of reeds and mud. Your skin wrinkles greenly over your bones like spinach stretching over a baseball. Legs like a kangaroo spring you to the moon, where it ripples in the center of the pond. Here is what your love songs sound like. You are ugly, I love you. You are ugly, I love you. There's a real sense of humor in that poem. And there are also some great metaphors. I think the class talked about metaphors and similes before I got there. But a metaphor is a comparison. And we compare things as a way to understand them and a way to look at them differently. Sometimes you use a metaphor to take something that's familiar and show its strangeness. And sometimes you use a metaphor to take something that seems strange and to show how it's familiar. So he says, your singing sounds like burping from the back row in a class of reeds and mud. And And what that does is it turns this pond with the little reeds around the edge into a classroom. And the frog is kind of hidden in the back of the classroom, burping. And I know none of you ever make rude noises in class, but it has happened in classrooms before. And the frog is doing that, so the poet says in this poem, or what he's doing is like that. And then it says, your skin wrinkles greenly over your bones, wrinkles greenly. That is some nice language. And then, like spinach stretching over a baseball. And if you know what a spinach leaf looks like, that roughness of texture, that's a pretty nice approximation of what a frog's skin looks like. And poems often put words together in unexpected ways. And when you put spinach and baseball together in the same sentence, it kind of tickles your mind because you don't usually see those words together. And then my favorite image, legs like a kangaroo spring you to the moon. The frog leaps up with its like kangaroo legs and it goes to the moon, but not the moon up there, the moon that ripples in the center of the pond. So the poem makes you do this rapid move from going up to going down, and you see that rippling reflection of the moon in the pond. And then, here is what your love songs sound like. You are ugly, I love you. You are ugly, I love you. And what the poet is doing here is frogs don't have the greatest reputation. And a lot of people think frogs are ugly. But the poet finds them lovable. And the poem makes them lovable. And, when you write your ode, you can write your ode to something that everyone likes, but you can also try writing an ode to something or someone that only you really appreciate. And you can try to show why you appreciate it. So this next poem, I'm going to read a slightly shorter version of. It's long. The poem, one side is English, one side is Spanish, so it's 2 pages. You can kind of see that the lines are very short, but there are a lot of lines. And this poem is called Ode to the Watermelon by a very famous poet from the 20th century who was from Chile, Pablo Neruda. And or is he from Peru? I should have checked. He might be from Peru. But Pablo Neruda wrote a book of odes. One of the odes was called Ode to My Socks, and it was about a pair of socks that a friend had given him when he was young and poor, and the winter was cold, and this pair of socks kind of got him through that hard winter. But this is a poem about the watermelon, la sandía in Spanish, and he has an interesting strategy in the poem. First, he tries to make you very thirsty, and then he presents the watermelon as sort of the solution to the problem of your thirst. And he uses a lot of metaphors and similes. So listen for those comparisons. Ode to the Watermelon. The tree of intense summer, hard, is all blue sky, yellow sun, fatigue in drops, a sword above the highways, a scorched shoe in the cities. The brightness and the world weigh us down, hit us in the eyes with clouds of dust, with sudden golden blows. They torture our feet with tiny thorns, and the mouth suffers more than all the toes. The throat becomes thirsty, the teeth, the lips, the tongue. We want to drink waterfalls, the dark blue night, the South Pole, and then the coolest of all the planets crosses the sky, the round, magnificent, star-filled watermelon. It's a fruit from the thirst tree. It's the green whale of summer, the dry universe all at once, given dark stars by this firmament of coolness, lets the swelling fruit come down. Its hemispheres open, showing a flag, green, white, red, that dissolves into wild rivers, sugar, delight. When we're thirsty, we glimpse you like a mine or a mountain of fantastic food. But among our longings and our teeth, you change simply into cool light that slips in turn into spring water that touched us once, singing. And that is why you don't weigh us down in the siesta hour that's like an oven. You don't weigh us down. You just go by. And your heart, some cold ember, turned itself into a single drop of water. Well, I like that poem because it really makes the watermelon into something special, or it makes us appreciate the specialness of what a watermelon is, the way the first poem makes us appreciate the specialness of what a frog is. So I've got a few more poems that were written by fifth graders. The first two were written by fifth graders in Arizona, maybe, I don't know, quite a few years ago. And then the last three were written by students in Carol's class. So, Ode to Indian Dancing. Because I feel happy as the full moon when I'm dancing. Because dancing is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Because when you are dancing, you get all of the bad things you did out of you. Because it makes me feel happy with my tribe. And when I am happy, my grandpa will rest in peace. Now that's a list poem. It's a list of reasons why the person loves Indian dancing. And we'll talk about list poems in a few weeks probably. So it's got these becauses, these reasons. And the first reasons all pertain to the speaker. Indian dancing makes the speaker of the poem happy. But the last reason is it makes me feel happy with my tribe. And when I am happy, my grandpa will rest in peace. So the dancing serves a higher purpose for the poet of making someone else at peace. And here's a poem called Ode to a Sidewalk. A trampled, beaten down path is always giving. Its veins are cracks and its blood is spilled Coke after Friday movies. The sidewalk has no life, but it lives. Decayed dinosaurs, burnt trees, the leftover meal from the elephant 10,000 years ago are in there, watching you trample over time like you're a time machine. I really admire how many ideas are compressed into this poem. Just the way material from many eras gets compressed into what makes a sidewalk. Here are a few from Carol's class. I'll start with Ode to a Parking Ticket. Fabulous parking ticket. Oh, the way you sit there, silent, not moving, but keeping people in order by silently ordering them to pay or not park there too long, or indicating do not park there at all. You are a shining light, but most do not see. I see your brilliance, your calm state of mind, as you tell astonished people as they come back to their car to pay this amount, or I will come back to get you. The streets are safe now. Thank you, parking ticket. Ode to you, parking ticket. And this is an ode to Elmo. Elmo, you are a glossy fire truck. Your voice reminds me of a happy quack. You taught me how to say numbers. I dance to your songs in my diapers. Your friends are my friends, even though you're a puppet. I still love you, Elmo, and I thank you for teaching me so much. And tell everybody I said hi. So I hope you're thinking of something, maybe a few things, that you can write an ode to or about. A lot of times in an ode, you're addressing what you love. This is called Ode to Drawing. Ode to drawing, the smell of fresh paint. Ode to damp crayon, its color so faint. Seeing people draw, it's so contagious. Just like Michelangelo, I can get famous. Ode to drawing, I can't resist, because making art is my way to live. So those are the poems I have to read to you for this week. The assignment is to try writing an ode or two, a poem that praises something, that tells the good things about something, that shows your reader why this particular thing that you're praising is special to you, is important. And I'd recommend trying to use specific details that appeal to the senses, things that you can see, hear, smell, taste, or touch, and try using a metaphor or two, a comparison to something else. I got to see your poems from last time, the people poems. I still haven't seen the mystery poems, but those people poems were just outstanding. So keep up the great work. If you have questions, you can email me through Carol and I'll get back to you. So happy Poetry Day, good writing, and I'll see you again soon.